So good news this evening is that it's a bit of a slow start. We're starting sitting, which is a nice place to be. We're going to stay here for a few minutes and just let ourselves calm our heart and our breath and let ourselves kind of get rid of the day and think about what we're going to be doing on the mat. So trying to let the legs get as close to the ground as you can. So open out those groins and thighs and start working into those hip flexors. Releasing the lower back a little bit. Maybe stretching the spine up so it gets nice and long. Think about the position of your head as well. Try and keep that level. When you're ready, if you like, you can close your eyes and just soften the jaw. Take your concentration back in towards your breath and slow it down. Maybe 1 or 2 times slower than you would normally breathe. Give permission for the belly to expand and the breath to move into the ribs. As you exhale, just let the belly draw gently back in. And just noticing the texture of that breath as it settles. Is it a smooth, gentle flow, or are there sort of hiccups along the way? We'll open the eyes again if they were closed. Just roll the shoulders around a few times. See how it feels in the shoulders and across the chest. Allow myself to take that in the opposite direction as well. Just rolling them around. And then releasing. Sitting up tall, we'll take the arms out to the side. You lift the hands towards the sky. The first few times, you can just bring the hands above the shoulders. Starting to get those shoulders to understand how they can move. And try to keep the ribs drawn down towards the floor a little bit. Noticing whether the mere act of lifting your shoulders is drawing your chest forwards or not. If it is, just draw it down and zip it up. If you're able to, you bring the palms together, the hands directly above your head. Out to the sides. This time we'll take a little turn to our left. Bring the hands gently down. Looking over the rear shoulder. Inhaling back up to the center. And then turning the hands across to the opposite side. Seeing how that feels through the middle back, upper back and into the neck. Try to relax the legs down. Now I'm going to come back slowly into the center. Let the hands come down. Stretch those legs out. So if you need to, just roll the ankles round and give the knees a little bit of a rub. Let the blood come back in. Go to gently pull the block towards the back of the mat. With the knees high and the hands behind, chin in towards the chest. Roll the spine down towards the floor. Take the arms out wide, keep the knees high and together, and just walk the feet out as far as I comfortably can. And then we'll scissor the legs gently over towards the right. Turning the head to left, try and keep the shoulders on the ground. See how low we get that bottom leg. Inhale it back up. So we're rolling in really from the sole of the foot into the side edge of the foot. And try to keep the legs the same distance apart as we start. So if they are traveling around a little bit, as you come back up, there's that little chance to bring it back to the starting position. We can migrate back into the middle as if they've got a mind of their own. Now I come back into the center. Draw the knees in towards my body and give myself a little hug. As I do, release the feet to the floor. Take the block out from behind the head and lengthen the legs out, pointing the toes. Trying to draw the belly down to the spine, shoulders into the floor. As I inhale, I'm going to start to flex the toes back towards me. Lengthen out through the heels and drop the hands down to the floor behind me. The block in between the hands, I try to get that to touch the floor. Inhale it back up. Point the toes the opposite way. Just bringing the hands above the chest, down towards the ground. This requires me to open out the shoulders a little bit more to the side. Toes away. Draw the belly in as we go down. And I'm going to leave the block on the floor towards the back of the mat. Bring the hands back down by the side of the body and slide the heels in towards my bottom. Squeezing the thighs gently. I bring the knees a little closer in towards the body. I'm going to extend the legs up towards the sky. Without having a detailed look, I'm going to try to feel a right angle between my body and my thighs. Press the hands a little down towards the floor beside me. And try and keep my lower back in contact with the ground. I point the toes up, lift the toes up, draw the spine down into the floor. So I keep it very flat to the ground. I'm going to inhale the hands up again towards the sky. Exhale the hands down towards the floor behind me. I'm trying to keep my lower back connected to the floor so it's not lifting as I'm moving my hands around. Just slowly taking them back. Longest legs I can manage, and as straight as I can. Pointing the toes, squeeze the thighs together just a little. And this time we're going to take the hands up, draw the chest towards the thighs, and see if I can take the hands gently down the back of the calves. Keeping the chin lifted. And slowly bend the knees. Let the spine come back down to the floor. We'll draw the right knee in towards the chest as I land and take the hands around the shin. Slide the left heel out down the mat. Toes flexed towards me and the thigh turned in, lower back drawn down to the floor. I'm going to lift the foot just an inch away from the ground on that left side. And we'll slowly draw that knee in towards the body and change over. Slide the heel again down the center line of the mat. When you're ready, just lift that foot an inch off of the ground and lengthen out. Remember, there's a little turn in from the internal rotation of the hip. So try to lead it from the hip joint rather than from the ankle. Might sound like that's the same thing, but muscular contraction is different. And then we'll slide that heel back in. Give ourselves another little hug. Let the feet come to the floor, close to the bottom. We'll bring the right leg in. We'll take the hands around the back of the thigh, interlace, lift that leg up towards the sky. And then we'll slide the left leg out. Press out through the heel, and then what they call Barbie toes. So imagine that you have got your foot stuck in a stiletto. Imagine lengthen out through the toes and spread them out wide. So it's not like a stiletto at all, really, or a Barbie shoe. That left leg is just lifted a little. I'm starting to feel the contractions through the thighs and the calf muscles. Top leg lifting up, lower back drawing down. We'll just draw the knees back in. Swap over to the other side. Lengthen the leg. Lengthen the heel. Lift the leg with Barbie toes. Spread and lengthen. Release. Draw everything in. Take another little hug. This time we're going to roll onto the right side. Use the hands to press down to the floor and lift up. Spin slowly round onto the fours. Take a little breath from there. Tucking the toes underneath from a neutral spine, and we'll lift ourselves into down dog. Just let the legs walk out a little bit. Let the shoulders open up, tailbones high, belly's drawn in. I'm going to press the heels towards the back of the mat as if you're trying to push them away and lengthen the stride of your legs. You're not actually going to move anywhere. It's just that feeling of drawing them away. You'll notice that when you do that, you'll stretch out the calves and the shins a little more. We'll take a little breath from there and let ourselves come into a plank. We'll let the knees come down to the ground. Untuck the toes. Sit gently back down into child's pose. Just letting those arms stay a long way out. Shoulders wrapped around the ears a little more than they would be. Feel more relaxed in our child's pose. We'll take another final breath here and then lift up. On to forwards. Shoulders over wrists. Knees lift into our down dog. Draw the left knee in towards the chest and then bring the knee through towards the front of the mat, squeezing the knee into the chest. So we're not actually going to touch knee to nose. This is just bringing the foot in towards the buttock. Trying to keep it there as we come forwards, shoulders over wrists, back into down dog, and then bringing that foot down again. So hooking the heel in, keeping it close to your bottom. Coming forward, squeeze the knee in towards the body. Spine just stays that little bit flatter. Just a tiny bit of difference between knee to nose, which looks pretty much the same. Just swapping over gently, getting a nice hook. Squeezing the knee in, keeping the heel in towards the buttocks. You're squeezing that leg in two ways at the same time. Come back for the last time. Take a little breath from there. Allow ourselves to come up onto the tippy toes and start to walk the feet. Trying to keep the legs straight and towards the front of the mat. So the feet are moving just a few inches at a time. We're lifting the hips as high as we can, making as much space as possible, and then bringing the feet in towards the front of the mat. Bring your hands onto the hips and we'll lift up. Hands in towards the heart. We'll take that into a little bit of a back bend. Sending the hips back as we lengthen out through the spine, letting the eyes follow the hands. We'll bring them back in towards the heart, into the hips. Long spine down towards the floor. And take the right foot back, drop the heel in, bring the hands alongside the body, dynamically lift. Taking that right arm out, cartwheeling up into our warrior two. Bring the hands directly above the shoulders, rotate and lengthen out into a power lunge and bring the hands down to the floor. We're stepping back into our down dog, come into a plank. I'm going to take half planks, so elbows into ribs. Inhale for up dog. Use the hips to lift up, down dog. We're going to scissor the right leg, keeping the hips square to the ground. Draw the knee in towards the chest again, and then bring the foot through to lunge. Press out through the back heel for a straight leg. Push off those toes into a forward fold. And the feet parallel and aligned. Let yourself lift. Hands in towards the heart. Take another of those back bends. Hands into the heart. All the way down to the floor. Taking the left leg back. Drop the heel in. Find stability and lift. Taking that left hand forwards and up. Into our warrior two. Hands come high above the shoulders. We rotate and lengthen out. Back foot stays placed to the ground until the last moment the hands touch the floor. And we lift the heel and move back into that down dog. We come forwards into plank. The hips stay high, elbows into the ribs. Try to not drop too low. Roll it back into our down dog. Left leg scissors. Heel comes in to the buttock, knee into the chest. Foot comes through for lunge. Strong back leg, we push off the toes into the forward fold. Let's come onto the hips and we lift. This time we just bring the hands towards the heart. We exhale over the thighs and down to the floor. Bring hands onto the shins. Lift up halfway. Fold back down to the ground. Drawing the belly in deep. Right leg back into lunge. Heel drops down. Lift into our warrior two. Dynamic lift again, lifting Right arm through. Now this time we're going to take the hands up and then bring the elbows out wide. Palms face to the long side of the mat. Then we're going to twist the body and lift the back heel so into a high crescent. I'm going to let the back knee get as close to the ground as we can without actually touching, and try not to let the front leg move forwards too much. We just come back to the starting position and drop down. So minimal amount of travel in that front knee across the ankle and heel. Allow yourself to take the hands forwards and down and back into your dog. Scissor your right leg. Allow yourself to come into a three-legged plank, three-legged half plank. Bootlaces change, up dog. Into down dog. Scissor that right leg again. Bring the heel into the buttock, knee to chest. Through to lunge. Press off the toes. Fold forwards. Hands to the hips and we lift. Hands into the heart. And exhale down over those thighs. Hands onto the shins, we lift up. Halfway. Folding back down. Spine low. Belly in. Left leg back and drop the heel in. Dynamic lift. Hands come high. Elbows out wide. Palms face the direction of the chest. We slowly turn around, pivoting on the ball joints of the back foot. We come down and we lift. Lengthen the hands forwards and down. Take a little breath. Step back into dog. Scissor the left leg. Come into a three-legged plank. Three-legged half plank. Bootlaces come down. Up dog. Lift the hips. Back into down dog. Scissor the left leg again. Draw the heel into the buttock. Knee to the chest. Bring the foot through. Lunge. Push off the toes. Into that forward fold. Hands come onto the hips. And we lift. Hands in towards the heart. Big breath in. And exhale out. Drawing the belly to the spine. Hands onto the shins. Halfway lift. Folding back down. Right leg back into lunge. Drop the heel in. Warrior two. Dynamic lift all the way through this evening. Then we're going to slowly hinge over the front thigh, extended side angle. Allow ourselves to take one hand down, one hand up. On the exhale, you're going to slide your forearm down against your inner thigh, knee, fingertips touch the floor. Lift back up to that starting position. We come back down again. Exhaling. Trying to keep the chest open to the long side. Top arm always pointing to 12 o'clock. Back foot pressing down. Hips over the center line of the mat. Go down for the last time. Back up. Warrior two. Float the arms high. Rotate and lengthen out over the front foot. Step back into your down dog. Right leg lifts, scissor. Square hips, three leg plank to three-leg half plank. Up dog, both legs down. Down dog. Scissor the right leg again. Knee in towards the chest. The foot through. Take a breath. Press off the toes, forward bend. Hands onto the hips and the lift. Hands into the heart, big breath. Exhale down. Hands onto the shins. Halfway lift. Belly draws in. Exhale the air. Inhale, left foot back. Drop the heel in. Dynamic lift to warrior two. Stand forwards. One arm down. One arm high. That's your starting position. Exhale down. Try and keep the knee same place over the heel. Lift. That's 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. Back into warrior two. Hands come high, rotate, lengthen out and down. Stepping back, down dog. Scissor the left leg. Three-legged plank to three-legged half plank. To up dog. Down dog. Scissor the left leg again. Heel into the buttock, knee into the chest. Foot through for lunge. And press off the toes, forward and forwards. Hands onto the hips. Inhale. Hands into the heart, big breath. Exhale down to the floor. Taking a breath. Right foot back, heel stays high this time. Allow yourself to bring the hands alongside your body. Lift the chest a little. Allow yourself to lengthen out. Now try and press off the toes. Stand into the front of the mat without dropping the foot. And bring them in towards the chest, clasping with the hands. We'll take the hands back alongside the body as we breathe in. As the hands come forwards, we'll see if we can lift. Can't lift and talk at the same time, obviously. Bring the hands around the shin and draw the knee towards the chest. Foot comes back down to the floor. Hands into the heart, big breath. And exhale down. We take that left foot back. Take a little breath. Hands alongside the body as we lift up that halfway. Hands come out in front. Just a few breaths here. So I know what we're going to be asked for. Take a breath in. Swing the hands alongside your body. As they come forwards, see if you can stand without putting that big toe down. Almost made it. Let the foot come back down to the floor. Hands in towards the heart. And we're exhale down to the ground again. Take a little breath. Right foot back, heel drops in. Hands alongside the body. Warrior two to the left. And this time we extend over the front thigh again. And we're going to bring the forearm and press it into that inner thigh. Top arm comes up and over towards the front of the mat. We're going to let the hand come down towards the floor, keeping the chest alongside of the mat. Just windmill the arm around. I'm running out of breath because it's so hot in here with the heating up. Should have turned it off before I started. Never mind. The next time the arm comes around, Lift back into warrior two, straighten the front leg, then drop into that front hip and extend out into triangle pose. Taking the top arm up towards the sky, opening the chest. Try to press the tailbone gently towards the back of the mat. Try and lengthen your chest gently towards the front of the mat. Try to encourage both feet to press down at the same time and take the weight out of that bottom hand. So really, it's here for guidance, not for weightlifting. We'll soften the front knee and back into warrior two. Take the hands high, and we're going to drop them onto the inside of the front leg. As we come down, we'll take a breath, the fingers round to the long side, turning the toes in. As you press the feet down, lift your hips up towards the sky. So you almost feel like you're taking the weight out of the fingertips. The body is long. And then we're able to hinge from the hips. We just give it that sort of 5-10 seconds of release to get used to the idea of where it is. Try and broaden the back of your shoulders out wide. Keep the ears and the shoulders distance apart. Keep lifting the hips, pressing the feet down. Do those two, the leg muscles will do everything else you need them to do. Take one more breath here. Let ourselves lift. Now, as you come up onto the fingertips, we're going to turn the rear foot towards the end of the mat. Allow myself to bend the knee, walk the fingers a little more down towards the back end of the mat. At the same time as I do that, I'm going to lift up onto the toes of that rear foot so the heel comes away, and then pivot on the front foot on the heel. Allow myself to sit back down onto this sitting bone and heel and toe connection. So the fingers are out in front, long leg, toes pointing towards the sky. We've got a ninja squat going on. If you're able to take the hands away from the floor this evening, that's great. You're going to try to encourage your spine to lift as much as you can out of the pelvis, but at the same time, you want to stay on the safe side of staying upright. If you want to bring the hands back down, take a breath, let ourselves lift gently back up into that wide leg forward fold position. And then once you've sorted the feet out, you're going to turn yourself gently into the front of the mat for a lunge. Take a little breath, and we'll step forwards. Take a breath from there, put your hands under the hips, and we'll lift up. Hands in towards the heart as we breath in. Hinge over the thighs. Taking the left foot back, we drop the heel in. Warrior two, dynamic lift. Gently back up. We extend out over the front thigh. The forearm comes down. Top arm lifts. And we're into the windmills. So trying to keep that chest pointing to the long side of the mat. Again, the hand starts to move towards the back of the mat. We'll lift into warrior two. Take the hands high and drop them onto the inside the front leg. Walk the fingers around long side. Again, just take a little time to adjust the feet, toes in, heels out. Start to get a sense of lifting the hips up and feeling the abdominals draw in naturally. So if you lift the hips up, the abdominal muscles kind of join in and lift for you rather than squeezing them in. And then once the hips feel happy, we let the chest swing down towards the floor like a pendulum.
head follows. And as before, we try and keep those shoulders nice and wide. Elbows about shoulder distance apart, same distance apart as the hands. Keep lifting and pressing down. Also helps you stop doing the splits halfway through, which is handy. Okay, we're going to lift back up. Rotate the back foot. Allow ourselves to bend the knee on the back leg. Put the hands gently in towards the back of the mat. Lift the heel. Pivot on the front foot. Find a safe landing. Lengthen out through the heel. Draw the hip in. Bring the fingers in as close as you dare. You want to be sitting on this heel. So if you're actually not sitting on the heel, then don't try to take the hands away from the floor, because you're really not in a good position to do that. You want to be able to take advantage of the foot being stable and the ankle and the heel underneath the leg. That's wavering around. It's probably not going to end up happy position. Your bottom might be a little closer to the floor than you wish it to be. So again, just remembering to be sensible. Taking one more breath and then bringing the hands down if you lifted them. And then we'll slowly lift ourselves back up into that wide leg position. Start to walk the fingers around into the lunge. Take a little breath into the front of the mat, into that deep fold. Bring the hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift. Hands in towards the heart. Take a little back bend. And bring the hands in towards the heart. So we've got a little mountain pose. Let some of the heat out. Let the legs come back to us. They should feel pretty well stretched out now. They should feel like they've woken up and understood that they've done some work. Hopefully you can spread your toes out and feel your body connecting to the ground, feeling stability through those legs, even though they're a little bit tired. Bring the hands in towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Step the right and left leg back into down dog. You come forwards into plank. Half plank. Press back to plank. Down dog. Draw the right knee in. Bring the foot through. And take a little breath. Allow ourselves to step into the forward fold. Hands come onto the hips. We lift up. Bring the hands in towards the heart. We'll zigzag the toes together. Soften the knees over the toes. Gonna sit back a little deeper. Take the weight into the right foot. Lift the left leg over and wrap it around for eagle pose. Slowly take the arms out. Left arm across, right arm over the top. Allow ourselves to bend. And bring those elbows into the body. And not everyone can easily wrap their foot around the calf. Some days I can, some days I can't. We're looking for balance. So keep it safe. Last breath. Going to release the arms out. Entangle the legs. Take the feet a distance apart again as you bring the hands in towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Step left and right into down dog. Come forwards into plank, keeping the hips high. Push forwards into a half plank. And then push back into plank. Lifting the hips high into down dog. Draw that left knee in towards the chest. Bring the foot through to the lunge. Let ourselves step into the front of the mat. Hands come onto the hips, then towards the heart. As we stand tall, zigzag the toes together. Soften the knees, squeeze the thighs a little. Sit back deep. Shift the weight slowly into the left leg. Cross the right over and wrap around as best we can. Take the arms out wide. Right arm across. Left arm over. Bring hands together. And release it out. Hands in towards the heart, feet hip distance apart. And exhale down to the floor. One step. Down dog shape. Bring the knees to the floor. Take a little breath. Tuck the toes underneath. Back onto the heels and lift the knees. See if you can then turn the heels in and knees out wide. Just let yourself bring the fingers in. And then slowly lift the spine. And see if you can take the hands out in front. Slowly take the hands down behind us and lengthen the legs out into Dandasana. Just bringing the hands in underneath the shoulders. I'm fortunate enough that sitting upright and rolling the shoulders back, my palms reach the floor. Appreciate that that doesn't happen for everybody, so as close as you can get. And squeeze the thighs together a little bit. Flex the feet towards me. Spread the toes out. Drawing the belly in a little bit. Actually pressing the tailbone down and trying to lengthen the thighs away, which is tricky at the best of times and compounded by the fact that you're flexing the feet towards you. I'm going to relax, cross the ankles over, bring the heels in. Going to come out to all fours, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We'll take a couple of rounds of cat-cow. I'm going to come into neutral, sitting on the heels. Allow myself to come into child's pose. Draw the belly in and lift back up into that rounded spine. Let the chest come forwards, as if I'm doing the cow. Moving back into the cat. And drop back into child's pose. Let the head come to the floor and elbows to the ground. Draw the belly in and exhale to lift up. Inhale the chest forwards. Roll the spine. Allow yourself to sit back onto the heels, head to the ground. Press into the shins a little as I draw the belly in. drawing forwards. Last time, coming through and then into neutral. This time, bring the knees a little closer and actually sit down on the heels with the body upright. So we're going to take a swan flow, which involves taking the arms up towards the sky, bring the hands together, and then we'll lean out over the hips to the floor, trying to keep the hands directly above the shoulders and head. We're hinging from the hips, so we're drawing the belly in, and we actually send the tailbone towards the back of the mat a little bit as you're going through the going down process. And that kind of stabilizes you and stops you falling forward too much. So we'll take the hands high, palms reach together. We'll let the index finger lead up towards the sky. Draw the belly in, exhaling all the way down, sending the tailbone back, bringing the hands to the floor as the head comes to the ground. Roll the spine back up to the seating position. So it's pretty simple, but it is quite a big strain on the back. There is a sort of earlier version of that to work from where you do the same, but you just bring the hands in towards your heart. And that just takes some of the strain out of those lower back muscles. If they are feeling tender and you don't want to do a minute and a half of this, you can always come into that sort of original phase. And then this is what I would consider the secondary phase, where we take it up a notch. About another 30 seconds to go. Last one. And this time as the hands come to the front of the mat, separate them out, lift yourself back onto all fours. We'll move into down dog. And then we're just going to flow forwards into plank, keeping the hips high, back into down dog. Coming forwards, into our down dog. Forwards again. Down dog. So they're like mini planks because we're kind of moving through them, flowing backwards and forwards. We're still pressing out through the legs, keeping the thigh muscles working so the knees feel like they're engaged with the quads lifting. Keeping the heels pointing towards the sky, being careful not to drop the hips too low as we come into this, and try and keep them about the height of your hip, of your shoulders. Rather. Ooh. Coming through. Ooh, finished. That's a good job. I'm starting to get tired. Come through into the last plank and let the knees come to the floor, and we'll thread the needle. So we'll take that right arm straight up towards the sky as we inhale, rotating the body, and then we'll take a twist and drop the shoulder down to the floor. We'll take a breath there and then press into the arm to lift back up and ease our way down again. Press into the floor to lift back up and down. And 2 more. I'm going to take the last time up towards the sky. Bring the hand down to the floor. I'm going to lift up to the opposite side. Let the chest open up. Spread that through. Lifting. And passing it through again. Try to keep the shins parallel and the bootlaces pressing down into the floor. I can start to kind of lift around a little bit. I've actually got my knees a little bit too far forwards. They should be more underneath the hips. Not too sure how I ended up in that position, but there we go. Lift for the last time. And bring the hands down. Swing the feet out to the side. Let yourself sit back, down, and to take the block, stick that underneath our bottoms. A seated twist. You don't have to use the block. I just find it easier for most people and myself. But we're going to take that left leg under and through. Right leg comes across. Knee is high. Pelvis tilts forwards. Left arm lifts and we rotate around. And we release. And untangle and take it to the opposite side. And release from there as well. And lengthen the legs out. I'm going to move just that little bit off of the block, so flat to the floor. Bring the right heel into the groin, knee out to the side, shin on the ground. I'll square the hips a little bit, turn this thigh inwards to put a little bend into the knee for Janu Shirshasana. Lengthen out. Let the hands come over the top of the toes and draw the foot back towards me. I'm going to send the left hip back a little bit and try to compress the right knee down towards the floor. Keep the head as well as you can in line with your spine and relax the shoulders back. We can release from there. And we'll take that into the final side. So legs down the center line. Dandasana position, left foot comes in, square the hips. Lift the knee, get space in the spine, lengthen out and over. Hands over the top of the toes. Draw the foot back. Send the hip back. Press the knee. Down, outside on that bent knee. Release from there as well. And we're just in time for Shavasana. So if your house hasn't turned into a mini sauna because you've got the radiators on, you might want to put some extra layers on. Otherwise, knees high, feet in. Take the hands by the side of your body. I'm going to use the block underneath the back of the head just because it feels more comfortable for me some days. Some days I do, sometimes I do. And then I take the feet out to the corner edges of the mat, let the legs roll out. Release the hands, wriggle the shoulders down, loosen the jaw and close the eyes. And then after that, I just go back to breathing. Now, let's see if I can remember the feeling of my breath when I began, and then see how that feels against the breath that I now have in my body. And then making no more comparison other than is it different or is it the same? We can release that thought, let it go, and just continue to breathe. And then you can start to wriggle those fingers and toes. Now the wrists and the ankles begin to move as you breathe a little deeper. Use that energy to stretch out in any way that feels good. And slide the heels in towards the body. Just using the floor, keeping the legs low. Slowly bring a knee in at a time towards the body for the gentlest of hugs. I'm going to try and keep all these movements slow and simple and soft so that we allow the nervous system to stay placid and calm. roll gently onto our right side. Stay there for a breath or two. And we'll take a bigger breath. Use the hands to press into the floor gently as we exhale and move the spine up as slowly and carefully as we can. Ease our way into a seated posture. Sitting tall from whichever position you find yourself, let your hands come in towards your heart. Closing your eyes, take a deeper breath. As a slow exhalation begins, let that chin drop. Through the belly towards your spine, allow yourself to bow to the floor, sealing your practice. As the breath comes back in, allow the spine to lift with your breath. Finally letting the head follow, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Hope you enjoyed and stayed safe. I'll see you on the mat again soon.